Well, good afternoon, brother. How's
Good
it
afternoon.
going?
Pretty good. It's going all right. I know you're saying we're going to bring up California.
One e-fuel company in Northern California is directly making vehicle fuels from the carbon in the air. How is that even possible?
It is interesting that there is a company in in the Bay Area that is making gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel out of the carbon dioxide in the air.
Prometheus removes carbon dioxide from the air and turns it into drop-in, zero net carbon carb gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and hydrogen. The only inputs to this process are air and electricity from solar and wind power, and the only outputs are fuel and oxygen. Every gallon of Prometheus fuel used on the road or in flight leaves a gallon of fossil fuel in the ground. Put another way, replacing all fuels that are now made from oil and gas with zero net carbon fuels made from renewable electricity can reduce global emissions by more than 10 gigatons of carbon dioxide per year, equivalent to approximately 25% of current annual global emissions.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
they're just they found a way to take the carbon dioxide from the air, sequester it, and then make gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel, which I think is pretty amazing.
That is amazing. Yeah.
That's an amazing feat to do, and I think they've actually gotten over a few $billions in capital. Like they've raised a lot of capital because they've been able to convince people that they're able to do this. So as far as I know, that's like one of the only sources to get like carbon neutral fuel, which would be a solution to do instead of just doing electrical and stuff
Right.
like that.
So that it'd be unfortunate if they totally ban gas by 2035. For cars. I think that's just cars that are sold. So there'll still be cars in California that use gas, probably for a while, unless they do something else drastic, like ban all cars. Maybe they'll change their mind and say, hey, as long as we can get enough carbon neutral fuel system, like that what you're saying, pulling it out of the air, then maybe they might want to adjust some of their time frames, which would be good.
Food waste can be turned into electrical power by food processing companies that use anaerobic digester technology.
We have much more food waste here than anywhere. I mean, when I was a cook, like I said, we wasted so much food in that place, and we were talking about trash cans full of just food waste every night, and it was just, especially when we have a buffet. The buffets. We would do that too. We have these big, huge spreads and buffets. I made probably 25 different types of salads, and they're all in these big bowls, right? And all along there, we had, salmon, and we had, smoked salmon. We had all these things around, all this cold food, and some people, they'd take a spoon out of it, but you'd have at least 2/3 of that stuff would be left over after this big, huge buffet, all in the dumpster, right? I mean, it's horrible. I mean, it's a lot of food waste, and so, I mean, let's not talk about just the food waste because people are hungry. Let's talk also about what it can be used for another purpose, which is energy. So anyway, I don't know if you remember this, but I lived in Europe a couple times, and especially Germany's pretty good about this. But they actually require you to recycle a lot of things, and it's actually against the law if they find you throwing away stuff that you should recycle. And so they're very, very stringent about these things, So. But one thing they do is you actually are supposed to recycle your food waste as well. They have a bin just for that. And so some of the households have these brown bags, and they put all their waste in there, and then they dump that into the special container along with, the glass and the plastic and the cans and the metal and stuff like that. So, and what they do is they take that and they make power out of that as well. So that's by law, there. I mean, I don't know if they still do it anymore. It's been a while since I've been living in Germany. We need to do more of that type of thing, making power from biomatter. And so you were talking also about this onion factory up in California. There's a good example of maybe a good thing that California is doing.
Yeah. They're in Oxnard, California. I think they're called Gill's Onions, but they're an onion processing facility. So they cut up the onions and maybe sell it to like a fast food burger joint or something like that. They say when they're processing, about 40% of that onion is actually waste. So, almost half of it is waste. They were generating about 250,000 pounds of waste per day, and they were having an issue trucking that to the landfills.
And they had to pay for that.
And they had to use the trucks to do that and all the labor and everything. So they figured out, well, why don't we do waste to energy, plant, make the methane like an anaerobic digester.
Right.
And so this would come from the onion juice. Crush the onion waste and produce juice, and they feed that into the anaerobic digester to produce methane. And so, yeah, they produce a lot of electricity with it. I think it's like hundreds of gigawatt hours that they do, and they say it's enough to power about over 3,000 homes. So they're probably not only using it for their plant, but they're probably selling it to the grid as well.
Right.
So they're actually
great
making
idea.
some money, and they're saving a lot of money by not having to deal with all that waste.
All right, well, until next time, we're the Climate Change Brothers. We're signing off.